Thank you very much, Tiffany and kids, for that wonderful production. You've given us a visual picture of God's greatest gift to us, His very presence in a form that we could relate to and understand. I maybe should have introduced myself a little earlier. My name is Gavin. I'm co-pastor here at Classical Church. Our Advent series has been about pushing back against the commercial aspects of Christmas that involve often overspending and overconsumption. And we began by talking about worshiping God fully. There's a slide for that, I think. And one of the ways that we do that is by spending less. And there's a slide for that. Not loving less, but spending less. Spending less on stuff that we don't really need. And trying to be more thoughtful and compassionate about our gift giving. And today's invitation as we wrap up this morning, just briefly, is to give more. And at first glance, this may sound like a contradiction to spending less. But we understand what this means when we look at God's greatest gift to us. I love the way the opening chapter of John's Gospel reads in the Voice translation, and I think this is on the screen behind me now. It reads like this. The Voice was and is God. This celestial word remained ever present with the Creator. His speech shaped the entire cosmos. Immersed in the practice of creating, all things that exist were birthed in Him. His breath filled all things with a living, breathing light. A light that thrives in the depths of darkness, blazes through murky bottoms. It cannot and will not be quenched. The Voice took on flesh and became human and chose to live alongside of us. We have seen Him, enveloped in undeniable splendor, the one true Son of the Father, evidenced in the perfect balance of grace and truth. Mind-boggling, isn't it? The one who is outside of time, the one who spoke galaxies, planets into existence, came in human form, subject to all the risks and vulnerabilities of an infant, of a child, of an adolescent, of a young man. And His coming in this fashion wasn't simply out of curiosity. It certainly wasn't to scold or condemn. His presence was a living revelation of our loving God. Jesus said, "If you have seen me, you have seen the Father." The Father loved the world so much that God came in person to the people that He loved. His gift to us was in part His presence. And there's something for us to learn in this about worshiping fully and giving more. You know that when a person dies, or maybe sometimes even when when a person has a special birthday, friends and relatives are encouraged to give to a cause or a charity that person cared about. It's a way of honoring their memory, honoring who they were. It might be cancer research, it might be animal rescue, it might be a certain college, sometimes it's even the church that they were involved in. Jesus cares deeply about being present with people, present with the people He loved. And that's what brought Him to earth. That's why He was accused of being a friend to tax collectors, drunkards, and sinners. And that's why He said before He returned to the heavens, "I will not leave you as orphans." His presence to us was important to Him. So one of the ways that we can honor Jesus on His birthday is to be present. There's a slide for this. To the people that we care about, or the people who need our care. And of course, being present means a lot more than simply being in the same room as them. It means being engaged with people. Being curious about what's going on in their life. That's what giving more is all about. Now, if you're creative in your physical gift giving, there may be ways to enhance this greater gift of presents. Maybe you give a friend 2 tickets to the movies with a stipulation that one is for them and one is for you to attend the movie with them, the same movie, the same theater, at the same time, of course. I heard of a young man who gave his father a special blend of coffee beans for Christmas, but it came with this stipulation: Dad can only enjoy this gift with his grown son. An emphasis on the presence, being with. And in a world shaken by COVID, in a world where much of our interaction is through Instagram or Facebook or text messaging, physical presence is a very valuable gift. It communicates more than anything else. You are not alone. Now, there's a couple of things that we should notice about Jesus' gift of presence. First of all, it was very personal. It's interesting to me that the angels announced the birth of Jesus to some shepherds in a nearby field. Farmhands. Now, if you were throwing a birthday party for the mayor of Bethlehem, these shepherds would never have been invited. They were nobodies. The angels could have made an appearance in downtown Bethlehem or maybe nearby Jerusalem to announce the coming of God in the flesh. But would the shepherds have thought, that invitation is for somebody else, it's not for us. Nobody wants smelly sheep hands like us at this party. But the invitation did come to them personally. It was specifically for them. It was relevant to them. So to give more means to honor a person by paying attention to who they are, paying attention to what's relevant to them. Now, if you were to offer my wife a pound of coffee beans with the stipulation that you could only enjoy this cup of these beans when she was around, she wouldn't be too impressed because she doesn't drink coffee. But you wouldn't know that if you hadn't been present with her. The other thing that we should notice about Jesus' gift of presence is that it was costly. It was costly. Think about the shift from creating stars and planets and galaxies to becoming an embryo in a woman's womb. Laying aside all the rights and privileges of being the creator of the universe. Think about sharing the greatest news that humans have ever received and having very few people believe you. Or pouring your life into a handful of guys, close friends, and having one of them turn around and turn you over to be crucified. Think about hanging on the cross and refusing any special favors because you are the Son of God. Giving relationally, giving the gift of presence, may be costly. It might mean driving a distance. It might mean giving some valuable time. It might mean being misunderstood or rejected. The invitation for us today is to worship fully by giving more in the way of relationships, in the way of presence with others. And I don't know what this will mean for you. Maybe embracing an alienated family member. Maybe visiting a lonely friend. Maybe inviting a widow or a widower over for a meal. Maybe listening to a family member or friend with your undivided attention. The Advent theme that was introduced in our candle lighting this morning was the theme of joy. And you might wonder what joy has to do with all this costly relational giving. And I think Jesus makes a connection for us in Matthew chapter 10:39, where he says, if you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. Or in the prayer that's often attributed to St. Francis, O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive. It's in pardoning that we're pardoned, and it's in dying that we're born to eternal life. And finally, if you're here today and you've never had a sense of the presence of God, you should know that the purpose of God's presence is not simply to give you a good feeling for a few moments. Jesus came to us on a restorative mission. The good news about Jesus coming is that things don't have to be the way they have always been. Because of his presence with us, our lives can take an entirely new trajectory. And this would be a great day to begin your journey with Jesus, the one who shows us what God is really like. I'm going to ask Christine if she'd come and lead us in another carol before